Peter, the former secretary of SARC Cycling Federation, former convener and chairman, Technical Committee, Cycling Federation of India. He is presently working as the Additional Commissioner of State Goods and Services Tax Department of Kerala State in India. Above all, he is discharging his honorary services as UCI International Commissioner and TAFISA CLC leader for the sports fraternity of the world, especially for India. Thank you, sir. Further, it's my great pleasure to invite Sri Sudhir Kumar Sharmaji, who is General Secretary of AIA-SFA and retired Additional Commissioner of Indian Revenue Service. Finally, on behalf of AIA-SFA, I would like to welcome all of you to the 4th edition of our international webinar series on global sport paradigms and opportunities amidst COVID-19. The 4th international webinar series is being conducted by the All India Association of Sports for All. AIA-SFA is an honorary association affiliated with the Association of International Sport for All, TAFISA, and Asiana Sport for All, ASFAA. AIA-SFA is the umbrella organization and electoral rights body on behalf of India since 2001. Its aim is to keep alive traditional games, prime sports development, and better physical activities at all levels in the country. Now, I'm so glad and happy to invite General Secretary of AIA-SFA, Mr. Sudhir Kumar Sharmaji, for the welcome address. Mr. Sharmaji, IRS, retired, was the member of Indian Revenue Service, Income Tax, Government of India. Mr. Sharmaji was the former Vice President of Cycling Federation of India and has been the UCI Continental Commissioner. He has organized many national and international cycling events, including SARC Cycling Championship. He has participated in various UCI Asian Cycling Federation, TAFISA, and ASFAA conferences, and an experienced sports specialist. Now, I welcome you, sir, for your welcome note.
Thank you, Ms. Aishwarya. Dear esteemed guest speakers, sport lovers, friends, ladies and gentlemen around the globe, my season greetings to all. Namaste. I am delighted to have this opportunity to welcome you all on behalf of All India Association of Sports for All to this 4th webinar on the topic Global Sports Paradigms and Opportunities Amidst COVID-19. The webinar is being chaired by our President, Mr. Abu Bakr Sraf, who is an Additional Commissioner of GST in Kerala and is a dedicated sports lover, administrator, and moving spirit behind the series of these webinars. May I now welcome and introduce our world-renowned experts and special guests who will enlighten us with their views on various topics. First of all, the webinar is being inaugurated by Professor Dr. Danila Deshava, who is a DSc and PhD from Bulgaria, and she is a former Minister of Youth and Sports, Deputy Chairman of Committee on Physical Education and Sports at the Presidency of Republic of Bulgaria, former Vice Rector of International Relations and European Integration, and expert on children and youth sport. I welcome you, ma'am, Mr. Zanes Zoldrenik, MSc from Slovenia, is our keynote address personal. He is director of TAFISA board and first vice president, Olympic Committee of Slovenia Association of Sports Federations, and vice president of WFCS. Our other speakers are Dr. Shabir Dalikode, who is an established neurophysician from Dubai, and he is MD of Universal Hospitals and Clinics in UAE and specialist in sports medicine. Mr. Ian Wright from England is Director of Development Badminton World Federation from UK, and he will guide us on International Federation response to COVID-19. Our other guest speaker is Dr. Chungmi Lee from Japan, who is an assistant professor at University of Tsukuba. Our Ms. Yoshiko Osamura from Japan. She's a researcher at Japan Institute of Sports and Culture, and she will be deliberating on promoting how physical activity by design. I welcome you all. Dear friends, we are all aware how this pandemic has crippled the economy of the whole world and affected the life of one and all. Of course, the scientists and researchers of various nations are working hard to create proper vaccine for its cure, and trials are underway. Maybe in 5 to 6 months, the vaccine will see the light of the day. According to Professor Andrew Pollard, who is a vaccine expert from Oxford, he doesn't say much to cheer. He says life won't be back to normal until summer at the earliest 2021, and masks and social distancing will be needed till then. Even if global vaccine tests proved successful, so utmost care is needed. Rather, in England, they are thinking of complete lockdown again because of this virus. Normally, the sports industry, which is about 800 billion industry per annum, remains immune from such calamities. But COVID-19 has not spared it even. This has given a psychological blow to all athletes, sportspersons, players, coaches, and support staff, affecting their income as well as health. And marketing of sports has become real tough. Major tournaments have either been cancelled or postponed, or the venue shifted, like in case of IPL, cricket has been shifted to UAE. Whether it's European League, golf or tennis, though these programs are gradually being organized, but in empty stadia without cheering crowds, affecting the psychology of players as well as sports enthusiasts. Sports is a passion for many, and this pandemic has struck a big blow. The traditional sport practices which were there are being left behind. It's a common practice in cricket that bowlers use their spit to shine the ball, but not anymore. The ICC Cricket Council has prohibited that to prevent the transmission of virus from one player to another. Similarly, football players are wearing gloves on the ground, and the balls are being regularly disinfected to prevent the spread of disease. To create sound effects for laughter and applause, British broadcaster Sky Sports has been roped in through video games and franchise to create team-specific crowd noises and cheers, which will add to the coverage. Due to prolonged lockdowns for months, sports personnel are unable to do proper practice and unable to maintain standards of physical fitness which are expected from them. Though the sports fields are being gradually opened, but still much needs to be done in order to maintain social distancing. Most of the sports activities have been confined to 4 walls of the room, and digitalization is proving to be a boom in these trying times. Various training programs are being relayed on electronic devices to be followed by sports personnel to remain active and to do practice. Stretching, meditation, yoga, and dance classes are also devised in which the whole family can participate. But again, all the sports personnel and families may not be having active internet facilities. Yoga is proving to be a boon and is being followed religiously all over the world. It not only adds to physical fitness, but adds to immunity to fight diseases. Rope skipping, dancing, and walking are also good physical activities things. Through these webinars, we have discussed various issues faced by the sports fraternity, and top experts from various corners of the world have deliberated on them, giving their valuable advice for the benefit of the whole sports community. In present times of great change and global uncertainty, we are sometimes at loss to find stability and peace within. Yet we are supported endlessly by the wisdom of the ages. Loka samastha sukhino bhavantu is a mantra of power that assists us in our spiritual evolution and acts as blessing for the world. Loka samasto sukhina bhavantu is a Sanskrit mantra which means let the whole world be happy. Similarly, if we believe in Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which is a Sanskrit phrase found in Hindu texts, and it means the world is one family, and is another mantra we believe in. And we have to live as a one family and let the whole world be happy and united. Through AISFA, our motto is to follow above mantras and to promote healthy and happy life of people, not only in India, but in the entire world. I welcome you all again, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Professor Dr. Daniela Desheva, DSc, PhD, Bulgaria, is the former Minister of Youth and Sports, Deputy Chairman of the Committee on Physical Education and Sports at the Presidency of Republic of Bulgaria, former Vice Rector of International Relations and European Integration, and expert on children and youth sport. May I take this opportunity to extend a hearty welcome to you, ma'am. I would also request you, ma'am, to declare this fourth session of our webinar series by AISFA open and also to deliver the inaugural address.
Thank you very much to be part of this fourth series of this. I think that will be very interesting webinar. I first of all, I ought to thanks to the Office Beer of our All India Sport for All Association, especially to the President, Mr. Saraf, and General Secretary, Mr. Sharma. It's really a pleasure for me to be a part of this seminar. I know that 27 countries are registered to, the people from 27 countries are registered to be a part of this seminar. It's I think 10 participation in a kind of seminar. I think that in a time of COVID, because we are still in a COVID-19, it's very important to have the events like this, because really it's impossible to meet each other face to face, but throughout the internet now it's okay, and it's very important to keep the contact, because in time of COVID it was a little bit lost. I will share a small presentation what happened in Bulgaria, what will be what happened. It's possible to share? No? It's possible to share the screen, no? With the presentation. Yeah? It's okay? It's okay? It's okay with the presentation?
Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Because, okay. What happened what was impact of COVID on physical activity and well-being in Bulgaria when billing? First of all, it's a result of the closure of gym, stadium, pools, dance. I think in the world it was the same. Now from the summer they are open, but I think in the next month they probably will they will close, because now the situation it's not so good. Many people are infected. also this result that many people were not able to actively participate in their in sport and physical activity, and that it's really resulting in gain of weight and also loss of physical fitness. Also, the lack of access of regular sporting exercise result in some problem, cause some problem in immune system, physical health, including different kinds of disease that they were not they were in not so expressed, but now they are quite expressed. Also, so many people now they suffer from the mental disease, because you know that the COVID, of course, COVID caused the physical disease, but mostly, I think mostly that is the mental disease. Also, many you can see in this small picture that it was a study, recent study that we do with the people in Bulgaria. You can see that 33% of the people they are not were actively during the COVID. 39 they say that the physical activity is was quite the same, and 9% no, but most of the people they are not were actively participating in the sport. Also, we try to adapt to this situation, creating as Mr. Charma and Sarab, they say that it's was different online content. I know that it's important to be internet world, but I think physical activity and sport it need to be do face to face, because it's a physical activity. Of course, internet it's okay. Education throughout the internet with the different research, it's okay, but sports is it's a practice. It's a practice. For this we need to be physically active at different stadium, pools, and that they were closed, but now I say that they are open. What we do in Bulgaria, many fitness studios, they offering reduced rate subscription of the people that they want to participate in only in online video, or also participating in present physical activity. What can be the solutions for physical activity and sport for all in the future? Supporting physical activity. I think that the government should work in collaboration. That's mean sport ministry, health ministry, education ministry, another care service, school, to organize various to organize the physical activity, because it's a very important. The sports is very important. Also, it's necessary to research. To do the research and also the policy, it's necessary to find the people that they are closely related to the sports sector, and to reorient the sports sector in the time of COVID, because I think till the end of this year, and probably in the next year, till the Olympic game, probably we will live in this, that can we say, not the new reality. I don't know what they say that is the new reality, but really is the new reality for all sectors, also for a sport sector. And that you know, it's necessary to have many research in scientific research in high educational institution, and it's necessary to make also another policies, I think, in the future. Also, technical cooperation and capacity development. Also, I think also that it's a policy to ensure that the different kind of service they are ready to implement the national policy and approach in time of COVID concerning the health and well-being, promoting positive social attitude and behavior. You know, it's necessary to speak that the pandemic is a pandemic, but it's necessary to not speak only in a negative way, because it's cause many mental disease, anxiety, depression. You know, in a recent study, we observe that we have very high percentage of people, young people, with the anxiety and depression, because only speaking about the COVID, I think it's necessary to speak about the sport, to speak what sport can, how the sport is important to battle, to fight the COVID, because in this way we can keep the physical fitness of the people, but also mental health, because it's a very important. Also, it's necessary to disseminate different measures throughout the society to how to prevent the risk, because it's important. You know, social distance or distance and sport it's difficult, because some kinds of sports like a sport wrestling and karate and different sport is impossible to have this kind of distance. The sport they do this very close. Concerning the financing, it's necessary to providing the sports organization special funds and grant schema. It was very difficult in Bulgaria to start with that, but lastly, in the last time, we started to give some money of sports club, more money to support the crisis, because many coaches they leave the system because no salary. That it was a big problem. Also, you know, the sports club, they are mostly the money they comes from children and people participating in a sport activity, and now in this time it's the participation was reduced. For this reason, the Ministry of Sports now gives some money to the sports organization to support this time of COVID. Also, it's necessary to establish some public and private municipal solidarity funds for local sports group and organization, because also that it's necessary. It's necessary to have some financial measure, because it's a time of COVID, and people also they don't have money to give the money for a sport. It's necessary to speak that the very important to do the sport, if it is possible to maintain that, but in the time is difficult, and it's very difficult for sport. Also, it's necessary to business also to invest in sport in this time, because they have the money normally invest in face-to-face to do sport, but also some electronic resource. Some fiscal measure also is possible to promote tax exempt. Now the sports, the fitness club in Bulgaria, they have the tax for a fitness club, tax exempt was reduced in a 9%. Concerning 22% is another taxes, but now the taxes is reduced in a 9% to support this time of COVID. And different measure can become a different promoting campaign to people to regain their life activity in this pandemic level. Also, I think it's very important to have a special place to give to child that it's necessary to do sport. It's necessary to do physical activity. You know, the big problem is that because probably the old people, they know that the sports is important in Bulgaria, but young people they lost the skills to do sports. They lost the habit to do sport during the lockdown, and now it's very difficult to restart to do a sport. And for this reason, it's necessary to keep the sports scope with the children. Also, it's necessary to have different initiative and measure with the family, because you know the family that they are very important to that their children they do sport. It's really important for children. In the end, the impact of COVID crisis, it's very strong for both for professional sport, for all amateur sport. We need to be prepared for different sport than already we know. Thank for this invitation. It's a really pleasure for me to be with you. If you have some question, I'm ready to answer of the questions. Thank you. It's okay? It's okay?
Questions will be taken at the end of the seminar.
The question in the end of the seminar. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for your very valuable talk. For the keynote address, we have with us Mr. Amidst Yanis Sodrisnik, Slovenia, TAFISA Director Board Member, First Vice President, Olympic Committee of Slovenia Association of Sports Federations, and Vice President of World Federation for Company Sport. On behalf of AIA, SFA, and participants, may I take this opportunity to extend a very cordial welcome to you, sir. He will be giving a talk on global sports paradigms and opportunities amidst COVID-19. May I now request you, sir, to address the gathering.
Dear sport friends, on behalf of TAFISA President, Mr. Juho Chang, and in my name, I'm warmly greet all webinar participants. I would like to thank the office bearers of All India Association for Sport for All, especially certainly the President and the Secretary General, Mr. Sharaf and Sharma. The time in which we live inevitably leads us towards a new normality. COVID-19 questions the way our societies have been built over the years. As the sports sector is impacted, a general reflection on the way forward needs to be performed. From the past, present challenges are taking advantage of new opportunities, may allow us to operate a change of paradigm for a better world through sport for all. Here are a few thoughts and lead questions in building a new model for sport and the sport for all movement. It's imperative that we take a human-centered approach. Why? COVID-19 has highlighted an increased demand and expectation for well-being from citizens worldwide. Product and user-centered approaches are not enough anymore in designing sport offers. All aspects, periods, and needs of each individual's lifespan needs to be taken into account. Does this mean we need to review sports, and particularly sports for all programs and events? I think the answer is pretty clear, for sure. Namely, COVID-19 brought the sport movement to a total shutdown. Physical activity in non-organized settings remained the sole opportunities for citizens to be active. New, innovative solutions have been designed. How can this be sustained? And how to make organized sport activities and non-organized physical activity work together and benefit from each other in the new world? The answer may be a diversity of delivery settings. Sport for all and physical activity constitute a key component to answer to the new demand of citizens' well-being. It's key to raise the significance of position, and in power settings where people spend more of their time to increase opportunities to be active at home, schools, universities, workplaces, transports, in public spaces. This is a particular challenge from the point of view that more and more residents are concentrated in cities. Cities are the places where people live, learn, work, and play. They are the major providers of sport for all and physical activity opportunities. COVID-19 has highlighted the crucial role of active mobility chains, mean walking, running, cycling. How can we position and support cities to sustain physical activity policies, strategies, infrastructure, programs, and events that were designed during COVID-19? One answer is certainly democratized access to education. COVID-19 led to a leap forward in the digitalization of sport for all advocacy and capacity building opportunities. Increased access to education, including in the least developed countries, is a positive outcome of the crisis. The FISA is currently working on sustaining this approach to create a new generation of sport for all leaders worldwide. The second answer is new solidarity. COVID-19 brought people apart physically, but also created a new solidarity among families, communities, and the Sport for All movement, as seen during the FISA webinars, like this one today. Numerous new program and event opportunities are laying ahead, building on a new solidarity. For example, the FISA World Walking Day, 24 around the globe, was an outstanding success and most inclusive and accessible active virtual relay in the world so far. Once again, it confirmed the famous proverb, where is a will, there is a way. Dear sport friends, we will discuss all this and much more at the next FISA Congress, which will take place in Slovenia in less than a year. I am confident that we will overcome the virus and live again in the world when we can travel, socialize, and look for a new path and opportunities together. I'm looking forward to it. Let me take this opportunity and cordially invite you all to Slovenia, to a green piece of heaven in the middle of Europe. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir, for your very inspiring address. Kindly note, the talk shouldn't exceed 6 minutes. Now, we are moving on to the address by Dr. Shabir Nallikod, UAE, MBBS, MD, Medicine, DM, Neuro, JCN, Neuro, London. Founder, Managing Director, and Specialist Neurologist, Universal Hospitals and Clinics, UAE Sports Medicine Specialist. On behalf of the organizers and all attendees, I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. He will be speaking on the topic Clinical Aspects of Sports Medicine and Relevance Sports Person COVID-19 Challenges. May I now request you, sir, to address the gathering.
Mr. Shaber, you are mute.
Dr. Shabir is not responding, probably something internet problem.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. You are giving a surprise.
All right. Just give me this now. Just give me a minute. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
So you're able to see my screen now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Saraf. Thank you, Sharmaji. Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity to speak today. And as you all know, I mean, I'm a neurologist. I'm based out of Abu Dhabi, and at the moment I'm in India. And I would like to have my time very focused on speaking something medical about what I wanted to talk today. So as we are all normal human beings, I mean, endurance is what I believe is the best thing to happen to you and to your family. So basically that comes with a lot of consistency, that comes with a lot of commitment. I just want to start with an image which I wanted to present here. I'm sure that most of you guys would have seen this. This is the Mount Everest, and I don't know how to explain how beautiful it looks when it is in the night, and you don't have to have a doubt, because there are a lot of summits happening every year, and the summits would have gone more higher and higher if the legal implications were not there. So I just wanted to mention that there is a traffic jam at Mount Everest. A traffic jam at Mount Everest means that there are a lot of people who are not being given an opportunity to mountaineer there. Because if you look at it, let's look at the history of how Edmund Hillary and Norgay, they climbed it in 1953, and from there on the number of summits kept on increasing, and in 2018 the numbers were close to 1,000. This needs a lot of medical support. This needs a lot of acclimatization. This needs a lot of legal clearances from both a lot of countries, and that's how this has been done. So what I wanted to specify today is the extreme sports to common sports. There is a lot of interest coming into this line, and that is where the relevance of sports medicine, and that's where the relevance of an organizations like the All India Sports Facility for All really takes a lot of share in it. Going forward, so what I wanted to talk today is a few things of medical wisdom that I wanted to share with you. Every minute of walking adds 2 minutes to your life. And you should know that it's never too early or never too late to make an exercise a healthy habit in your life. And when old people who continue to have active lifestyles, they experience less health problems as they age. So the only question that I want to ask today is, do you really think that you have a chance to live without exercise? It's an absolute no. Without exercise, you have obesity, coronary heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, depression, anxiety, whatnot, arthritis, osteoporosis. What has to be mentioned is exercise is a medicine. I mean, there was a lot of studies compared with people who are taking anxiolytics and people who wanted to exercise. The study showed that people who do exercise had an equal potency on their depression as compared to people who were not exercising and was only on medications. So what I just wanted to pull in is that physicians should prescribe exercise as a medicine, and patients should not fail to take it as a medicine. So just to put it in a different way, instead of an allergy, exercise can be a long-sought vaccine to prevent chronic disease and extend life. So are we reaching a point where, a legal protection has to be done for not prescribing physical activity, and that should be considered as a patient neglect? So what is the history of sports medicine? So being a doctor, I just wanted to be very curious about it. Sharmaji had mentioned about our ancient Ayurveda scriptures, where the literatures were in Sanskrit, and it was not duly shared by many people, because Ayurveda used to be a very closed cloud of people who had done very high-end researches. So it started with the ancient Greek as usual. I mean, so they always valued physical education was an integral part of an adult's life. And then they had special knowledge in diet, physical therapy, and sports techniques. This is something very interesting. I mean, the first team doctor, his name was Galen, and who was appointed to the gladiators. I'm sure that you all know about gladiators, and this is where it all started. As I mentioned, I mean, so they always had a practice of having a doctor at all points of time. And when we look at the medical manuscripts of ancient India between 800 and 100 BC, exercise as a massage were recommended for chronic pain in joints, muscles, tissues. I mean, we are digging deep into those information, and every day we have a lot of info coming on it. So what is this so specific about sports medicine? Sports medicine is not, it's considered to be a part like an occupational medicine. There are a lot of subspecialties which have come now, which is aviation medicine, which is, there is dyspharism, submarine clinic. So sports medicine is coming into a very high relevance now. And few of the places where it is relevant is on the play fields, in the labs, in the gymnasiums, schools, colleges, universities, clubs, swimming pools. The earlier speaker was mentioning about a lot of recreational activities, combative sports, contact sports, adventure sports, competitive sports, training, car rallies, and daily living activities. So every walk of life, there is some relevance to this. So the important thing in sports medicine is, at every walk of life, you have extrinsic factors causing injuries, you have intrinsic factors causing injury, you have emotional problems causing injury. And these are all getting addressed by a group of people who wanted to be branded now as sports medicine specialists. Just to take away a few messages, I wanted to break the tune of the presentation. I just wanted to give a few pieces of advice to people who are listening on this, not the speakers alone. I found that, people who are getting into some sports activity, actually, they should eat at least 3 to 4 hours before a competition. Because that's how the human gut works. And, if they cannot eat a meal 3 to 4 hours before a competition, they should at least have a light meal or a snack. Why I'm putting this as a relevant here is because, people are going through a lot of stress at this point of time, and the sleep-wake cycles are getting disturbed. So you need to understand that, it takes 3 to 4 hours to digest a larger meal, 2 to 3 hours to digest a smaller meal, and 1 to 2 hours to digest a blended or a liquid feed. So, it takes less than 1 hour to digest a snack. And, the pre-competition meal should be low in protein, especially if somebody is going in for a very high-stressed competitive sport. He should be having a meal which is low in protein and fat, because it takes a longer time to digest and they feel very heavy during the competition. And these are all finer tuning points of excellence that happens when you're in a competitive sport. And we should always avoid high fiber diets before a competition, because you might get GI symptoms, discomfort during the competition. We should also be very careful about the fluid intake, like sport drinks, water or juice 3 to 4 hours before the competition. And they should, during the competition, there should not be any other drink other than a sport drink or water. So, it's just to maintain the point that, in sport, there is a lot of importance in nutrition and dietetics. And as Sharmaji was mentioning, we are all going through a lot of stress, and up to a certain point, stress is beneficial. So the athlete performs with a great energy and increased awareness with the influx of the excitatory hormones. I'm not getting into the medical side of it. That releases an extra immediate energy. But when the level of stress increases beyond a certain point, it gets into a negative direction. So sports medicine, what does it do is it realizes your future potential, and that's how it has to be taken into. And what it does is it applies medical and scientific knowledge in enhancing performance. So, anything that you can measure, that is something which you can improve. So you improve after only you measure what is your capabilities. So basically what I feel is it prescribes sports and exercise as a treatment modality for a lot of medical problems, and thereby it enhances the quality of life of a common man. As a doctor, this is how I wanted to see sports medicine is a branch of medicine, which is the most important part of, giving wellness to people. Uh, just for an understanding of many of the people who wants to understand what constitutes a sports medicine team, it's an umbrella of people which is compared, and then you have a nurse, an athletic director, physical educator, EMT technicians, podiatrists, chiropractor, ophthalmologist, exercise physiologist, orthopedic surgeons. You have physical therapists. You have even a dentist, physician, psychologist, athletic trainer, and kinesiologist. And then you will also have your physician and a coach who is going to be a multidisciplinary team which will manage this. Let's look at few of the athletes and understand how sports medicine practice have evolved over a period of time. So let's look at Betty Cuthbert in 1956. If you look at her, the body contour, when sports medicine was not involved, I'm not trying to discredit the medical side of it there, because I always believed in medical doubling. So in the 18th century, the medical doubling was around 50 years. Medical doubling means any information on a particular disease or a particular medicine, it doubles. It was only updated in 50 years time. So that's what is called as medical doubling time. So if you look at from 1956 to Wilma Rudolph in 1960 to Flojo, if you look at the contour or the body appearance in it, this is all part of the nutrition, a part of physical support. It's a part of the medical team. It's a part of the psychological evaluation. So you could see that getting better and better in the athletes and in general with people who are into sports. The few things what I wanted to mention again was so sports medicine, it has got some very specific things which I thought I would mention to you. It works on biomechanics. There is a lot of medicine in it. There are training methods. There is a lot of psychology. There is traumatology and prevention. And one of the most important thing that is coming up is doping. In this sort of sport events, it is always, we get to hear about, unfortunately, about doping. Sports medicine also looks at certain body types. I mean, you have people who are mesomorphs, ectomorphs, and endomorphs. I'm not getting into it. The pictures are self-explanatory. It's based on the height, weight, and the fat percentage, muscle mass, and bone mass. So we actually, if you want to identify, an ectomorph is specifically suited for certain programs. So it's like, you are tuning an engine of a car, and you know how to tune the performance of a person. So this is how relevant sports medicine has become into, and that's where our interest in getting into this art of, you need to identify the talent and make sure that what are the sports in which they would be fitting in. And once based on their interest, this is where the development needs to be starting. So we look at the, so what is so important about, I mentioned to you about exercise physiology. So we have the exercise physiology to look at motor abilities. For example, somebody who could be a cricket player, somebody who could be playing tennis. We look at the endurance, we look at the speed, we look at the strength, agility, flexibility, and coordination. That's the most important recruitment tool to recruit somebody for a sport. And we basically do few tests. I mean, VO2 max, oxygen deficit, lactate tolerance, lung function test, heart rate monitoring, muscle strength, and endurance. So by doing this, we will be able to identify a talent which is young, adult, old, whatever it is. So it doesn't stop you from identifying anybody. But these are the tools that we normally use to recruit them, to make them better. So as I told you before, we would like to measure and then improve those qualities. So besides the physiology, we also look at the psychology. I mean, so psychology is an important aspect of sports. I mean, you need to train your body and you need to train your mind. There is always something which is called as motivation, which is 24/7. You need to have the anticipation. You need to have adequate reaction time to do whatever you want. You need to rest and you need to relax. And then only you have the instinct or the killer instinct to get into what you always would want to enjoy with doing sports. Nutrition is always a very important aspect in sports. It starts from the moment then you're born, then you are a kid. From the nutrition has to be starting from when you are a kid. So basically nutrition, what it does is it looks after your energy expenditure, the balanced diet, a pre-competition meal, glycogen loading, food supplements, and at times wherein now you are getting into vegan, vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So these are all things which needs to be mentioned into it. An extra piece of information on a medical slide note is about the fitness gene. I mean, so everybody would know about an enzyme called as angiotensin converting enzyme, which is mostly relevant to blood pressure and kidney. So what happens is, the angiotensin converting enzyme has got two versions, and the I version is which enhances the uptake of nutrients and oxygen to the muscle. So once that version is improved, that's on a medical note, basically it is associated with a better physical performance. Coming to sports traumatology, basically, if you look at the difference in pediatric sports injuries and adult sports injuries, I mean, pediatric injuries are very different because the bones are very frail, the muscles are tend to, do it, but the way in which the muscles can heal is much faster in children. So sports injuries is another tool that we always need to look at. What are the medical problems that can worsen in sports is also very important. Since I have only been given 6 minutes to talk, I'm just moving a little faster. Please bear with me and I would be able to answer much in the question and answer sessions. So you can have cardiology issues, you can have respiratory problems, you can have hormonal problems, that's called endocrinology. The most alarming thing that is happening in sports is the use, misuse, and abuse of drugs. That's called doping. So the issue now is the World Health Organization and the International Federation of Sports Medicine have shown that half of the world population is insufficiently active. That means it is resulting in a colossal waste of human potential, and it's a major contributor to ill health and unnecessary death. There is a lot of inactive lifestyle, elevators, escalators, motor cars. We have a lot of commuting methods. Televisions are leading to physical inactivity, resulting in weight gain, obesity, and postural problems. The previous speaker was mentioning about fitness programs in schools. It doesn't stop with any age. It could be either in children, it could be even in age, it can be in disabled. It can be a leisure sport, wherein you create mass sports, recreational sports, family sports, lifetime sports, vacation sports. It does not end even in industries, and it does not even end when you are in a prison. So sports is something which has to be imbibed into your lifestyle. I mean, I have very good people who can speak about that on the later note. And I think I'm not a person to announce public policies for it. I mean, we should have a public policy for promotion of physical activity as exercise as something which is a routine. And transport and environmental policy should always take care of walkers and, jogging tracks, cycling lines, physical activity to be advised to patients, by doctors, by teachers to students. We should be able to provide convenient and affordable facilities for working women, elderly people, physically handicapped, people who have problems. Has to be given high priority to prevention and treatment of fitness, exercise related injuries. You have to bring in role models like the way this organization is doing it. I mean, bringing in people from all over the world. Try to use staircases, walking and cycling for short distances, and bring in as many as NGOs to promote healthier and enjoyable lifestyles through organizing recreational games. And you should always be setting up baseline levels for exercises. So the point would be, now we are going through a model wherein, we have something called as corona, which is really affected. There is a lot of problems for having contact sports, and the aim is to have physical activity as a routine in somebody's lifestyle, which can eventually bring in a lot of protection to people having lifestyle problems. For example, now we're seeing all over the world, there is a high rise of diabetic in the younger population, and this would always be causing a lot of losses for the exchequer, especially the government and the insurance related problems. So I think this is a great initiative. I would like to leave a slide here for the vision of the millennium, which is the Fit India program. And I think basically the motto of this talk and the take home message for me is to share that, exercise is a prescription. It has to be taken as a medicine, and it should not be failed. And that is how we create a modern world with healthy people and a healthy future. I think I wanted to stick on to my time, and Saraf, I think I did justice to you. I'm trying to close my topic, and I would like to take some questions. There was some relevance on artificial intelligence on sports, on the future of sports, which was my topic that I wanted to talk in, but then, it becomes very unclear for a lot of people because that's a separate topic altogether. Maybe any of the future coming sessions, if you think that I am relevant, I could have that discussion to you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable address. Now, we move on to the address by Mr. Ian Wright, England, working as Badminton World Federation Director for Development, former England Performance Manager, Badminton England, former Badminton National Head Coach for England and Great Britain, former French Badminton Head and Olympic team manager and expertise in last 5 Olympic.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Is my screen shared okay? Everything okay?
Yes.
See
Yes,
that?
yes.
Good. Okay. I'll do a brief presentation this morning on how Badminton World Federation as an international federation has responded or tried to respond to the academic and the uncertainty it's caused in the sporting world. But I would like to start off first of all by thanking the All Indian Association of Sport for All for the invitation to speak and contribute today. And in particular, I'd like to thank the President, Mr. Saraf, and the General Secretary, Mr. Sharma. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. I'm going to give a very, very brief presentation here, but I'd like to start by saying in badminton, we consider ourselves a true sport for all. We have regular participation of around about 340 million people playing on a weekly basis, at least once or twice a week. We're a sport that's played equally by male and female. And we're a sport that is equally accessible and inclusive for intellectual and physical disabilities, where these publics can get a positive experience of sport through badminton. But as for all sports, the pandemic has caused severe disruption to our sport and raised serious questions as to how we maintain and sustain contact with our public, our fans, and everybody who's interested in our sport. Our strategy has really been based around identifying our key stakeholders and the people that are key to keeping our sport alive, and coming up with strategies as to how to engage them through this difficult period. And the publics, it's not complicated. Our members, obviously, our commercial partners, fans, players, etc., all crucial to our sport. For our member countries who are having many national federations are having great difficulty at the moment. So we've had to be very, very flexible with our approach to funding. We would normally fund most of our programs from a continental basis, where we would bring countries together to deliver programs and projects on an international scale. But since this has not been possible, we've restructured all of our programs to give us the possibility to deliver on a more national level. We've also introduced national grants to support and maintain those national federations, and also engage with them so that they're ready when sport is allowed to recommence in their regions, that they're ready to go and they're well equipped to do so. For fans and for our fans and participants, we've relied very heavily on social media to engage the fans and maintain their connection to the sport and their enthusiasm for the sport itself. We've run many different campaigns. We've run campaigns to keep young children active with online exercises and fun exercises, fun competitions. Equally for adults, some physical challenges online to try and help them keep them active. And also running polls, quizzes using archive material. It's been particularly difficult for us with no live sports. Most of our communication policy is always set up to deliver our programs in conjunction with our live sport. So we've had to completely rethink how we do this. And one of the most interesting exercises in this area has been the promotion of air badminton, our new version of the sport, which is takes place in an outdoor environment, which was originally developed for less developed and developing regions of the world, but now has become more relevant where indoor facilities remain closed and really the only possibility to exercise is in an outdoor environment. So we've invested very heavily in promoting shipping equipment into less well-developed regions to allow people to continue to get a positive sporting experience through the medium of badminton, in this case, air badminton. For our coaches and technical officials who are so key to our sport, we've made available online all of our coaching resources. They're all free to download, and anyone who's listening today who's interested, just go to the BWF website. You'll be able to download any of our resources designed to teach coaches, technical officials, event managers, national administrators. We have many, many courses available, which we've made free to air. And most importantly, we decided early on that we needed to invest in translation of these resources to give us access to a wider audience. And like most sports, we've set up online workshops and discussion groups so that people can interact and share their problems and share any solutions that they're finding in their own regional situations. As I said, social media has been really critical to everything that we do. It's a key tool in engaging and to continuing to engage all of our different publics. And actually, we've been able to increase our reach through this period, which is really interesting for us because traditionally our social media is always based on the live competitions that are taking place. And with no live competitions, we've had to completely revamp our strategy around social media to make sure that we continue to engage with our current audience, but also that we engage wider, more broad audience base. And just a couple of examples of how we've been able to do that. In Facebook, during this period, as I say, with no live badminton, no live chat on badminton, we've actually been able to grow our public by 15% through the campaigns I stated before, with the online fun exercises, with quizzes, with polls, etc. And on Weibo, the Chinese equivalent of Facebook, we've actually been the fastest growing sports site in the world for Weibo. And we're becoming one of the most viewed sites of all the sports, sitting only behind football and basketball on the Weibo, which is an amazing feat for us considering there's been no badminton. Over 3.5 million people now engage with us on Weibo. So what are the outcomes? Well, I'm sure some of you have similar stories, but this pandemic has forced us to really rethink how we work and communicate with our member associations. Very often when we're running traditional, regional, international courses, we engage with maybe 2 people from 5 countries, maybe 10, 12 people on these courses involving 5 or 6 countries. Whereas throughout this pandemic, by setting up live webinars and online chats and various educational forums, we've actually been able to engage sometimes with up to 3,500 people on these presentations, which is clearly a broader audience than we would normally be expecting to be in contact with. So that's been a real serious learning point and positive outcome for us that has allowed us, or forced us in many ways, to engage with the wider public. Also, we're seeing that there's a real thirst for educational resources in our field. So we have worked very hard to produce more resources. And in particular, as I said, one of the key strategic decisions we made was to translate into as many languages as possible so that we could engage with the widest possible audience. So our schools program, for example, now, which is designed for children between 5 and 15, we now have those resources available in 20 different languages, which has really boosted the catchment, if you like, of that market, and allowed us to engage with many new regions, new teachers, new schools, and getting them interested and motivated in sport through badminton. You may notice that during the presentation, I haven't actually spoken about our elite players. What I did want to stress in this presentation, that as an International Olympic Federation, we're still very, very focused on sport for all. We would like to think that we are a fully participating member of TAFISA. We focus very hard in less developed and developing regions, and also regions of extreme poverty, in providing equipment and equal sporting opportunity for these publics. And this is something that has come alive during this period for us, and stressed the importance of being able to engage with these very often minority publics. And certainly, as previous speakers have said, the use of online forums, the use of chats like today have been really critical to us and leave us in a much stronger position, we feel, in terms of communication with our key stakeholders. That's a very brief and very rushed presentation, I'd have to say. 6 minutes was a challenge, but hopefully I've met that challenge. So again, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity and thank everybody for their attention. And I'll be happy to take any questions at the end of today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening address. Now, we have an address by Dr. Chingmi Lee, PhD, Assistant Professor, University of Tsukuba, Japan Organizing Committee member for the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games, Korea. Former Deputy Secretary General, AIP's Congress Seoul 2011 Organizing Committee, Seoul, Korea. Madam, on behalf of AIASFA and all the participants, I extend my hearty welcome to you. She will be giving a talk on COVID-19 effect on the sports industry. I request you to address the gathering, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. But I tried to share the screen, but I cannot. What happened in here? I cannot share the screen. Okay, no. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
That's not my screen. Okay. Okay, now I can do it.
Now it's visible.
Okay, this is my screen. Hi, good morning and good afternoon somewhere. I'm Chung-Mi Lee. It's a very honor to be here, the part of this webinar. And I would like to thank you, the Office of AISFA, especially the President, Mr. Sharaf, and the Secretary General, the Sharima. So it's only 6 minutes presentation, so it's kind of challenging. But my topic is about the COVID-19 pandemic and effect on the sports industry. So here is the effect on the sports industry because of COVID-19. There is a biggest direct impact for the sports event, for like Olympics or World Championships, and the significant indirect impact for sponsors and commercials, and the moderate direct impact on the event owner and the broadcast. And there is, this is the analysis for the impact of COVID-19. So there is 3 different level of the impact. The first order effect and second order effect and third order effect. But in order to assess the impact of coronavirus on the sports industry, it will be important to assess the middle term and long term effect and not solely focused on the short term effect, because we are also already based on the short term effect, and everybody knows what kind of impact of the sports on the sports industry. So these are the area of the impact and the potential risk on the first order effect. In terms of a business point of view, there is a loss of revenue, of course. If there is no sports event day, there's no sponsorships and there's no the commercial opportunities. So also there is unforeseen cost risk, because it's a kind of a additional the cost we need, such as the deep cleaning cost of the venue. And also there is a potential risk on the sports, disrupting on the training process, like danger of quarantine and the player lose of conditions, because if there is no competition and the league, the players not really have an opportunity to play. And there's also the risk on the community, loss of reputations. So if you don't have an event or league, especially for the professional league, there's inability of fulfill event day and the obligations. And there is another like a potential event on the second order effect. There's a lot of the fail out in sporting, and financial, and community. In sporting part, we had there is uncertainty over the outcome of next event. We don't know how to do the promotion the event and the qualifications as well. In case of Tokyo 2020, we really have a struggle to have a qualification event, how to do it, because it's not really sure the Tokyo 2020 will be held in next year or not. And also the planning squares, like contract end dates and the games, the optimizations. We may know about the case of Messi, so it's kind of a difficult situation now. And also the financial point of view, to sponsors, broadcasters, and the reduction of transport and supply chain disruptions. And the community fell out also. There is some kind of a relations with fans and the event. And the last one is the potential risk of the third order effect, like event value reductions and reduction in level of interest in sports and event. As you know that since the Tokyo 2020 has been postponed, a lot of people lost interest in the Olympic Games itself. So the Japanese government, faced on the struggle to make it boom up now, but it's still difficult. so that the re-evaluation of entire sports business and government's model, so its impact to entire sports business and government model, and also the postponement of next event, maybe its impact to next Olympic Games or next different championships or other events. So this is the slide for the impact, economic impact of the COVID-19 on sports. So as you can see this slide, the top professional leagues are projected to lose millions of dollars in revenue. But not only professional league, as you can see that there is the Olympic postponement also be lose $1 billion. So, but we don't even know it will be held next year or not. So if the Olympic will be canceled, the loss will be much more than this. So this is the we basically know how the COVID-19 impact to the sports industry. Thank you very much. I'll be very welcome to have a questions next time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your informative address. Now, we move on to our final address of the session by Ms. Yoshiko Ozamura, researcher at the Japanese Institute for Sports and Culture, executive board member of IAK's Japanese section, experts in sports management, community sports, sports and leisure facilities, and city planning. On behalf of AIASFA and all the participants, I take this opportunity to extend a very cordial welcome to you, ma'am. She will be speaking on the topic, promoting physical activity by design. May I now request you, ma'am, to address the gathering.
Thank you very much for giving me this great opportunity. With special thanks to the President, Mr. A. Saraf, and General Secretary, Mr. Sudhir Kumar Sharma. Thank you so much. I am Yoshiko Osamura, a researcher at the Japanese Institute for Sports and Culture, which is a consultant company for city planning, landscape designing, etc. Also, I am a board member of IAKS Japan, that is an international association for sports and leisure facilities. For this time, I would like to focus on the design which promotes physical activity in the most effective manner. First of all, the situation of COVID-19 in Japan is somewhat under control. I took this picture at a park in Yokohama during the height of the emergency. You may be surprised by their perfect social distancing and mask wearing without any obligation to do so. Thanks to that, public open spaces have been opened during the state of emergency in Japan, and indoor facilities also opened right after the state of emergency ended, which was in April and May 2020. Thus, cultural behavior is one of the things we must consider regarding correct use of space. However, the number of steps each person is taking per day is decreasing due to COVID-19. I conducted a pilot study on 52 students in Tokyo, asking how many steps they walked, which was recorded by smartphone applications. Clearly, less steps were taken from March to June in 2020 compared to 2019. So what we have to promote is more physical activity. As such, I would like to share some examples. Fitness has been predominantly recognized as an indoor activity. However, there are more possibilities outside. We should utilize what we already have in our cities, and this is an emerging paradigm, especially with COVID-19. So let's see what we can do. There are many interconnected ways to encourage physical activity by utilizing urban, transport, open spaces, building, and amenity design. More bicycle parking encourages bike riding. If you find a space 4 square meters, why not make a bike parking space? Safe bike storage is a simple way to encourage bike riding. Permanent circle lanes is best, but even temporary lanes are a good start to understand how they work in cities. In the right-hand picture, the road was closed to cars and bike lanes were made to see how it works. Also, bike storage in buildings is important. In apartments, school, offices, and so on, it is good to invest in spaces for bikes. If you don't have a lot of space, you needn't worry. By hanging them vertically like this picture, many more bikes can be stored. Due to more time indoors, how to increase steps is also crucial. If you get a chance to think about the design of a new building, please consider the location of stairs. If they are placed with visibility and connected to a common space, more people will use them. If you cannot change the design of a building, still there is a way. Put up signs showing the way to stairs, as research shows that good signage increase usage. If you do not have enough space, especially an urban area, how about using your rooftop? This is a world-renowned kindergarten in Tokyo. Researchers found that after installing this facility, children's steps increased dramatically. Also, kids love to run around in circles. This next project is in Copenhagen, which utilizes the top deck of a car park with outdoor corridors and equipment for circuit training. Unlike gyms, open spaces are crucial because all demographics can use them freely, thereby promoting equality. And good connection between roads, walkable access, places to sit, play areas, etc. are inviting. As human beings, when exercising, we can easily forget social distancing. But by using nets, social distancing can be maintained. Fit One's idea provides flexible space usage in a limited area. So, what do our future spaces look like? This is a plan of a new building in front of Tokyo Station under reconsideration due to the pandemic. The initial design connected with floors with indoor escalators and steps, but this redesign uses exterior ramps, promoting good ventilation, relaxation with nice scenery, and physical activity. Therefore, as we face the new normal, we need to think about creative solutions, and active design provides more opportunity for sports, leisure, and physical activity. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am, for your informative address. We have a set of questions received from the participants. Some of the questions received are almost similar, and hence I have collated it to save time. Question 1 has been raised by Mr. Richard Stephen from England. The question is to Dr. Shabir Nellikod. The question is, how do we adopt physical fitness to combat stress during COVID-19?
It's a very important and a thought-provoking thing to be thinking about during this time. COVID-19 has brought in a lot of physical, mental, financial implications to all over the world. I mean, many people have had issues. I mean, they are not able to face it, challenge it and beat it. So I think one of the best things that they could do is to be physically very active. A lot of people have lost jobs. A lot of people have financial instability. A lot of people have problems thinking over it and getting into depression and related issues. I think that you should have a vow today that you're going to start being more physically active. This corona has helped me to reduce about 14 kilos. I mean, I used to be more on the next side. I'm trying to still reduce. I mean, my walking routine, and I used to play tennis before. These are things which I think, whatever the challenges that you face, you need to spend adequate time to make your body be fit as much as you can. I think, maybe I'm not the fitness expert, but I think what you need to understand is that an isometric and isotonic exercise in balanced way will keep your blood circulation to most of your internal organs in a very smooth fashion. As you cross 40 years of age, I mean, I don't know the age of the questionnaire, but I would rather feel that, he needs to find his own ways of adopting a space, an ecosystem, an environment where he should be physically active. That could be probably the backyard, the inside of the house. I've had people doing marathons inside their home for 20 kilometers in Dubai. And that was a challenge posed by a group of people who lived in apartments when, moving out of the apartment was considered to be criminal. So they organized a marathon for 20 kilometers inside their small home. And that was done very judiciously. And we had winners being announced on it. So to the questionnaire, what I would want to is, if you have any sorts of negativity in your mind about corona and corona related implications, I want you to be, the first thing that I want you to be is to get out of the bed, get out of the house, get out of the where you are, and then try to be as physically active as you can. And that's going to be a life changer for you, and you're not too late. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you, sir. The next question has been raised by Ms. Malika Shahab from Iran, and this question is to Mr. Ian Wright. The question is, how would we perceive the potential long-term impacts of the sports ecosystem due to COVID-19, and how can it overcome?
That's a very good question, and it's a big question that a lot of sports are discussing at the moment. I think one of the key things is I think what's been flagged up to all the international federations is how one-dimensional they've become in delivering programs and how they deliver educational packages, how they deliver their events. And it's clear that sports have to learn very quickly, and they have to become more flexible in their approach. It's really difficult for next year to plan anything at the moment. I think even the Olympics are in danger, and that puts a lot of international federations and national federations also in danger. So now is the time to be flexible, to get together, to think about how we can overcome this. I think it would be really good if some of the sports could work more closely together, because for once we have real commonality of issues here. And we need to probably pull together a little bit more in this situation to look at how we can share ideas and maybe share forums to keep people active, and also to keep people interested in sport, because it's so easy to lose interest in sport. I was interested to hear the doctor say he's used it to lose weight. I'm afraid I see a lot of people around me who've gone the other way. So it's really important that we all play our part in the different federations to try and motivate people to stay active. And that's really, really critical, but at the same time, keep the sports alive.
Thank you, sir. Question 3 has been raised by Mr. Guldeep Singh from India, and this question is to Dr. Chinmi Lee. The question is, how can we simultaneously manage fan expectations and reduce operational disruption?
Thank you for the questions. That is very difficult to solve the problem, but the many leagues or many like organizations try to do their games in the internet service. So internet broadcastings and internet on demand. So I think they try to find that solutions. How can they keep their fans engagement in their to stay with their interesting things. So I hope we can all the not only professional league, all the sports event and the federation and can do with that kind of things. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Question 4 has been raised by Mr. Edward Dixon from Switzerland, and this question is to Ms. Yoshiko Ozamura. The question is, do you think active recreation induce sports participation?
Do you mean, excuse me, say it again, please?
I repeat the question. Do you think active recreation induce sports participation?
Yes, of course, I think so, because having fun is a good start to do anything. So recreation is why not? I think it's a good start to promote physical activity. Did I answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Now, for delivering the evaluation and summed up, we have with us Mr. Sarhit Singh Sekhon Darko, the Vice President of Asiana Sports for All, association to which AIA SFA is affiliated to. On behalf of AIA SFA and all the participants, I extend my warm welcome to you, sir. Now, I request you to deliver the evaluation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Surai. I think I benefited most out of this session because when I was asked to evaluate, when I was called, Mr. Saraf called me to say do some evaluation. So I was very attentive and listened to every word that you people said. So that means I take home better than anybody else. Well, anyway, this has been a very good topic. Initially, when the topics were broken up, I was just thinking whether they duplicate in terms of delivery. But now I realize that every person who delivered had his own area, specific area, and that was very good. You didn't make it look like duplication of ideas or whatever it is. Professor Danelia Rashwa, in her inauguration, she really highlighted why restructured the movement, especially using IT, which is a very, very important point, because we all have now even become IT savory. We never heard of Zoom before. I don't know. I never heard of it. Okay? So a lot of things have changed. And another thing she mentioned was something which Dr. Shabir also requested. Physical activity helps in the immune system. And this medical science is telling us for preventive COVID, the immune system is a very, very important aspect. So this Sport for All plays its game in improving the immunity system of an individual. Government, she says, was supportive, very good. In Bulgaria, the government reduced taxes and they promote campaigns. I think this should be adopted by most countries. Many people have lost their valuable earnings, but still paying the same taxes. Mr. Janis, my colleague from Tafisa, and he was more talking about changes and how to adopt the human-centered approach towards activity. And he was also giving us examples of the new innovative activities that Tafisa has designed. And to him, sport for all and physical activity is better for the humans. This comes back to me trying to understand, and I believe you will agree with me, that our body is actually designed for action. We have the same body as our forefathers. It's designed for action. It's just that when we are not acting, like Dr. Shabir says, other diseases will start creeping in. So thank you. And I would also like to mention that TAFISA, with 170 countries as members, with 540 members, individual members, is doing very well. Their programs are all over the world, and I think they should have a very active secretariat in Frankfurt, headed by Dr. Wolfgang Baumann. And I think perhaps from now onwards, they should do a little bit more than what they're doing, especially for COVID, more into. Now, Dr. Shabir, you're a neurologist, sports specialist, but I saw you coming out more of a physical fitness enthusiast, and that's good. I like your slides, it is good. You were talking about endurance and how important it is for the individual and the family. And that was a very highlight point which I took it. You brought an example of Everest. I also want to tell you, Dr. Shabir, that Malaysia is a tropical country. We don't have snow here. Neither do we have winters and autumns or seasons. But do you know, under our Sports for All program, which we Malaysia Cergas or Fit Malaysia, we created an association called Mountain Climbing, and as a result of which, with a lot of money pumped into the youths, we had 2 Malaysian Indian boys who climbed the Everest. A great credibility for a tropical country like Malaysia, who had never seen snow in their life, and yet they climbed Everest. They're very strong members of my organization, Mafima. Yes, you did mention about exercise as medicine, which is true. You talked about physiology, nutrition, and I enjoyed what you talked about anthropometry. Am I right word? Right? And thank you very much. And we hope that with your advice, our quality of life will improve. Good friend Yan Wright, again, has done a lot around the world for badminton, and I'm glad he's now going down the level to talk about Sports for All. You see, I had the president of the Sports for All in Malaysia, Tunku, whom Yan knows very well. He told my organization, you should also include high-performance sports NGOs into Sports for All, because they need to start sports the base in modified equipments and modified rules and modified fields or whatever they are. And I think badminton has done well in that. He has responded to campaigns to keep the young people active, and his new program called Air Badminton or Air Shuttle is doing well now. And the other thing is, you notice that BWF, which is based in Kuala Lumpur, has gone online to educate the sedentary people who don't have to go to the field, like the coaches, the technical officials, and things like that. So all this helps in times when we cannot be physical. Dr. Chong Lee from Korea, well, you talked about events and sponsors and mention of how people are losing money, especially event managers and commercial sector, which is true, which is very true. You also mentioned about broadcast and the level of interest you mentioned about sports and event management, and you think the business people should change their attitude and their methods of how to use sports to get in more funds. A good example is the EPL in London and also the ongoing IPL. You notice they don't have spectators, no game collection, but there's enough money from sponsors. Why not? TV helps in this. So thank you, Dr. Chang, mainly for your contribution. Miss Yoshiko Osamura, whom I met in Tokyo, you look the same. Well, I like what you said about pilot study. Actually, there is a lack of research that is being done in sports. Most of the sports people, I can easily say most of the administrators and most of the event managers and the promoters are more into activity. Very few get into research. And what you have done, a pilot study on the reduction of steps, is something I will hope you can send the paper to us. You talked about facilities. Yeah, of course. What doctor said, You got open spaces, you got the mountains, you got the air, you got the land, you got the water. What do you want? Everything is there for you, you know? You don't need actual equipments. You just need to move your body. And you mentioned about buildings. This is another new dimension. It's taking on now. In all the modern buildings are coming up. They are building gymnasiums and activities on roof level, including tennis and ping pong and other sports. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much to all of you. You have picked up mention about opportunities, we clinical and medical aspects, international NGO and their effects, sports, the effect on industry, and promoting physical activity by design. I enjoyed the session. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Ms. Ashurai, and thank you to Saraf and Sharma for inviting me. It is an honor.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful evaluation and sum up. Now, for delivering the word of thanks, we have with us Mr. Alok Kumar Mittal, Chartered Accountant and Treasurer of AIA SFA. On behalf of AIA SFA and all the participants, I extend my warm welcome to you, sir. Now, I request you to deliver the word of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Saraf, President, for giving me this opportunity. I hope all of you will agree that it was a very interesting and fruitful session. And I felt that the time given to the speaker was a little less. It should have been more, then it will be more interesting. Anyhow, we are all aware that COVID-19 has affected almost all the countries of the world, and whole world is anxiously waiting for the vaccine to get rid of this pandemic. Let's hope it will come soon. In these trying times, All India Association of Sports for All decided to organize an international webinar series in order to make our humble contribution to the world of sports in managing various aspects of sport by inviting expert speakers from all over the world. We are extremely grateful to our world-renowned expert and special guests who, in spite of their busy schedule and varied time zones, were kind enough to accept our invitation and to express their views on various aspects of the challenges faced by the sports industry and management of sporting events in these testing times. On behalf of Board of All India Association of Sports and on my own behalf, I convey my special gratitude and thanks to Professor Daniel Dasheva, DSc PhD Bulgaria, Mr. Janij Sodaric from Slovakia, Director at FISA Board, Dr. Shabir Nelikode from UAE, Dr. Ian Wright from England, Dr. Chungmi Lee from Japan, and Ms. Yoshika Osomara from Japan. We feel honored that all our esteemed speakers gave their candid and interesting views and suggestions which will help the sporting fraternity in tackling various issues faced by them. Our special thanks to Mr. Sarjeet Singh Dato, Vice President ASFA, for his participation and evaluation of the webinar. I take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude and thanks to all participants who registered for this webinar and helped in making the event success. Further, I also put on record our special thanks to Professor K.P.V. Ram Kumar and Dr. K.S. Chandrasekhar, who has been guide to our President, Mr. Saraf, PhD students on the topic of sports management and empirical studies on leadership approaches in India. Lastly, I will also put on record our special thanks to the team of technical officers who, with their untiring efforts, helped in organizing this webinar a success. Namely, Mr. Vipan Kumar V, Extreme Media founder and CEO, and his dedicated team, particularly Ms. Nancy and Avasti. And my special thanks to Ms. Aishwarya Menon, who anchored this event very nicely. I would like to express special thanks to Mr. A. Saraf, President of AISFA. Without his effort, this organization of this webinar would not have been possible. And in the last, not the least, Mr. S.K. Sharma, General Secretary, who has been doing a lot of work for the SFA, and my special thanks to him also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Further, I'm proud to acknowledge the presence of Professor Dr. K.P. Ravanakumar and Dr. K.S. Chandrasekhar, who has been the guide of our President A. Sarafji for his PhD studies on the topic of sports management and empirical study on leadership approaches in India. Thank you, sirs, for your valuable presence. Once again, I am Miss Aishri Lakshmi C. Menon, BCom second-year student of Rajagiri College in Kerala. Would thank all the office bearers for giving me this opportunity, especially the Honorary President A. Sarafji and the General Secretary of AIA-SFA, Sharmaji. Thank you, sirs. I further thank the audience for the support extended to this webinar through your active participation. Your certificates of participation will be mailed to your registered email in a week. A quick reminder to all to be eligible for the participation certificate is that all are required to submit the feedback form within the next 2 hours. The next webinar will be held during the month of November. Once again, thank you all, and I declare this meeting adjourned. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.
Zornik, thank you.
My pleasure. Always.
Nice to see you. We'll see you in Slovenia. Hope
Yeah,
you'll come soon.
definitely.